the ORFA has a longstanding relationship with Marmac and the development of a few things with our partnership. So I'm just going to kind of highlight that and really quickly who we are for those of you that may not be members. As Zach mentioned, might have some folks here from other provinces or areas. So yeah, with that, I just wanted to quickly just introduce myself. Brad Putnam, I'm with the ORFA. I joined the association in April 2024 after close to 15 years in municipal recreation facility services and between majority municipality recreation facility management, but also some corporate facility and asset management side of things too. So certainly come from a background of arena operation management primarily. So understanding the benefits of some of the enhancements and the tools that that Marmac offers, and we'll talk really briefly here just about our partnership and the opportunity here with the flood cut logs, and then I'll let Zach drive from there. So just quickly about the association for those of you that aren't aware, and as a quick kind of maybe reminder for some of you that are members. We started in 1947 as the Ontario Arenas Association. So over that time and 77 years now, the ORFA has grown to a provincial association with over 8,000 members. That is a combination of municipal, private, educational, Indigenous community facilities and operations. So as well as our corporate members as part of the association as well. So with that, we've grown, and that silo no longer, as it originally began as an arenas association, is strictly refrigeration and ice. We focus very much on kind of four pillars, being that one as kind of the core foundation of where we started, but also aquatics, buildings and grounds, and staff and management. So those of you that have participated in our professional development and are aware of some of the resources and things we do, it's kind of grown alongside what recreation facility management has grown to. So with that vision is to be a leader in the recreation facilities profession and to provide leadership in the development and innovation and training, education programs, value-added services, and quality products. So really that's the only reason why I'm here today, is kind of to highlight where we try and do that with our members. And we've done with Marmac for the better part of 8 years now, and I'll talk about that more on the next slide here. But we try and make sure that we are part of providing solutions to our members to innovate and enhance your operations. So as I mentioned, for over 8 years now, the ORFA has had a partnership with Marmac that was developed in 2016. At that time, that was when RFAM was created, so Recreation Facility Asset Management, which as an ORFA member at no cost, that module and portion of the RFAM family of modules is available at no cost. So that was developed between the ORFA and Marmac and a number of test communities and facility members that provided input. So it is very much a tailored maintenance management, but asset management program for the profession. So a lot of you that aren't aware of it, it's again a solution that is very tailored to the needs of the industry versus a lot of asset management and other solutions that are out there that have to get tailored to meet the unique needs of what we are. So currently, and Zach can certainly highlight this further, but RFAM is currently used by 75 municipalities, over 950 facilities, and over 15,000 pieces of equipment in the program. So a lot of engagement and users there. And again, I'll let Zach supplement that more when he hops back on here as well. But
Brad.
Yeah.
Sorry, if I can add that last line there, that's just Ontario alone.
Good point. So yeah, and that's why we're aware of primarily is the Ontario use and focus. And with that, we're able to access some aggregate data that certainly helps us in what we do, and that's advocacy and awareness with decision makers is a primary focus of what we're doing as association these days, is continued engagement with our members and providing professional development to those in our industry, but also helping to support conversations like this year at Association of Municipalities Ontario and Municipal Finance Officers Association conference, and helping senior leadership and elected officials understand, where all of you are coming from and coming forward with, future budgets and what you're trying to do with your asset management. So we're certainly advocating, and the access to information that we have in this partnership with Marmac has been very successful in helping us convey kind of the message and snapshots of what's going on in our industry. So in addition to that, again, RFAM is kind of where we started, and that relationship continues. But the success of that, the use of that by our members has led us to just effectively in this recent month here in October 24 of providing the access again as a benefit of membership with the ORFA at no cost access to the flood cut log component of the Sub-Zero digital ice management system. So Zach's going to show and tell that here for you, but and I think as most of you are probably aware of what it does in the interest of being here today, the ability to digitally record and track the flood logs is certainly a tool that can help with your operating trends and trying to enhance some efficiency in your operations, staff training, and is another leverage to access of data to help support business cases and other decisions that you might have to make. It's not isolated to that component. So like other solutions that Marmac does offer, Sub-Zero does have additional modules which are available at cost, including the depth checks, plant readings, resurfacer maintenance, transit analytics. So with all of that, you're able to even further enhance what you're doing from a digital standpoint. With that, I'm kind of going to wrap myself up here, and definitely at the end of today's presentation, happy to help respond to any questions or things that may be out there about the relationship, what you have as access. Again, I'm sure Zach's going to show you not only the solution, but help you with some wayfinding of where you can go to start that registration process to access that as a benefit of membership, or learn more about how you can do that. So Zach, I hope that wasn't too quick and dirty, but I'm really not trying to steal your FaceTime here. So
no, that's perfect. We don't want to have a 2, 3, 4, 5 hour webinar. Keep it straightforward. Everyone's got stuff to do. That was a very good introduction, especially from the ORFA stance as to why we're doing this, the value of this. Brad, some of the folks here might be wondering, and not to put you on the spot, but I know the question in the back of their head, they're saying, okay, ORFA, are they still making the paper logbooks available for flood cuts? What's happening? Are we allowed to use digital logs? Is that going to create an issue? Can you just chat generalities? We don't need to get right down into that nitty gritty of it, but what's your perspective? What's ORFA's?
And definitely a good point. Obviously, in this partnership, we're promoting the adoption and innovation that folks are looking for in moving towards digital record keeping. But having said that, we do still offer the traditional logbooks for that purpose for a variety of things, as we've traditionally done. That is still an industry best practice. And again, the access to this, much like the access to the inventory module of RFAM, is a starting point for you. So perhaps for some of you, that's a starting point in your path to more in the future as far as digital. As far as we're aware in this respect, again, there's not really regulated items in regards to flood logging or things. They're obviously well-established best practice risk management practices, in addition to operational benefits and practice that it provides, just again for operational enhancement and efficiency. But obviously, all of these things are things that are looked at in any type of claim or incident process, and having the access to the information quickly can certainly help respond and show the proactive approach that you're doing with managing your facilities. But again, we still promote and offer the traditional, but this is definitely a great opportunity to kind of take a step forward, and you can always enhance from there. It's an easy way to access that at no cost, with no long-term kind of financial commitments to do that as well. So
Yeah.
I hope that kind of answers in summary there. And again, happy to answer any questions at any point here throughout the afternoon.
Yeah, that's bang on. Thank you, Brad. And for folks, if you have questions, feel free to leave it in. I'm not sure if you can access the chat, but definitely the Q&A. Feel free to leave that. I'm going to share my screen and we'll go through exactly what it is and how it works. It's really simple and really straightforward. When we announced this 2 weeks ago, I don't know how many we got, probably 20 to 30 organizations. There's no cost. You can log in, you can pull it up. You just have to reach out to us. I'll show you how it works, but I don't want to forget the actual sign up page. So I'll add the link here in the chat if you want to pull it up, if you want to access it. If you have any questions, you can reach out to us or email us. All you got to do is just fill in the form. We'll generate your accounts and send it back to you, and away you go. Pretty straightforward. That's all you need to do. But I'll show you how it works. So this is really informal. For all of you wondering, it's a web app, so it's hosted. Nothing has to go on your server. You don't have to deal with IT. All the data stored in Canada on AWS. So if your IT asks about questionnaires to fill out for data security and SOC Type 2, all of that we can take care of for you. We've dealt with a number of organizations, so that can put you at ease there just to get you started. Each of your staff can have their own login. What we're finding now is with staff turnover and everyone managing their own login, their own password, you can just create one generic one for operators. All the operators can use one login, and we've added a drop down where you can manage all of your staff names. So then they can just pick who it is. And now we don't have to deal with 20, 30, 40 accounts and changing them and active and deactivating it, just to make it simple and easy. For the flood cut log, no cost, as we mentioned. If we have some time at the end, if you folks want, we can show you the other features like the iStep checks. I might mention a little bit about the ice resurfacer circle checklist, but I don't want to spoil that. That we'll do in a few weeks. But feel free to leave a message in the chat or in the Q&A if you'd like to see that at the end of today's session. So you're given your login. You can pull it up on a phone, a tablet, a computer. You can have a workstation. They pull it up. If you have access to the flood cut logs, that's the only thing you'll see. So you won't get inundated with other modules. But this tool is everything you need for ice management. We checked yesterday. We now have over 300 rinks using this platform right across North America. I think we just got our first one in Europe as well over the weekend. We're really excited, all the way from single pad mom and pop rinks in Georgia all the way up to NHL buildings. We just had a new one yesterday. In the middle of the demo, the gentleman said, "Done deal, sign me up. I want to use all the modules, all the components of it." So we're really excited about the adoption of it. The flood cut log is a great way to introduce yourself to digital inspections, digital logs that aren't overly complicated, don't have 1,000 steps, and get the ball rolling. It standardizes it. So especially as you have new operators, new staff, what am I writing down as opposed to in a book? Maybe what do we reference the ice resurfacer as? I do it as fractions. Someone else does it as gallons, the time. It could just create a nightmare. We've tried to make it as standard and simple as possible. So you pull it up on a phone, as an example. There's your facility. You see all of your rinks associated to that facility. So let's just do our FAM rink. Here's the ice resurfacers within that building. So it's customized exactly for your facility. Here's a list of all of your operators. Let's give it to Michael Scott. Previous program, standardized list. So there's so much data that we can then mine afterwards. Say, okay, how much snow is being taken off for ice maintenance or hockey or public skating? What's the runtime hours on that machine? You can now see that incrementally over 2-3 months. What's those hours? Which machine's doing more cuts? None of these are mandatory fields. You might look at some of these and say, I don't collect that information. That's fine. You don't have to put it in. We can now compare lithium ion, acid, propane machines and seeing, okay, are they able to keep up with the various amount of cuts? If I've got 2 pads, is an electric machine able to keep up? Do I still have propane? We're not looking at different brands, but just what suits your operation best. And this is the trend. So then if a CAO or a director says, we want to go green and we want to go energy efficient, you have data to say, yeah, maybe that works for us. Or, hey, we do X amount of cuts and we have so many sheets of ice and we have so many tournaments, we're open all day long. Maybe we still need to keep our old propane one just because of the demand in our facilities. It logs your start time automatically. So it subtracts 10 minutes from when we opened it. So it's less work for your staff to have to add in and less error. Roughly every flood's about 10 minutes, but you can adjust it if it's 8 minutes or 6 minutes. Depth of cut, this is new. We're adjusting it, but you can put in that depth. I'll share with you why in a little bit. The snow, water used, type of flood, any notes. I'll just say looks good. Press submit, done. Once your driver gets off their ice resurfacer, they can fill this in 30 seconds. They can go do all 4 cuts if you've got 4 pads. And you can put this up on a TV or just have this accessible. And there's all of your cuts. There's all of your information. If you've got multiple buildings, multiple pads, machines, you can organize, sort, search. This becomes your dashboard for your building schedule, your building operations. You can toggle by staff member and say, okay, this person's consistently cutting too much. They're flooding too much. Which machine is being used more than the other ones? Based on a certain amount of programs, as we spoke of, we're consistently needing to cut more, or we have always a full bin after hockey. We have some cool reports that'll roughly show you your water consumption. So if you don't have Connect, Level Ice, Fast Ice, roughly we can tell you after a month or a year, because we know the size of these tanks and saying half tank, 3/4 tank, we can then tell you what your water consumption is. So actually, I'll show you here a quick report. The reports I'll pull up here. I'll show you the one specific for water. Here's one. So you can see month over month. If you guys want to see another report, I can show you. We have one of 4 or 5 months of data, and you can see how much they've cut versus how much they flood after doing like 200 cuts, 300 cuts a month on a single pad. More like 200 cuts. And you can see that total consumption after 3 or 4 months, they're over like 150,000 gallons. And for some of you folks that are maybe have more programming, maybe have a twin pad, that number will be even more. Some rinks do double floods every night. Maybe that's not necessary. You can start to see a reduction in that. Tracking your staff, not to track them, but more from training. There's so many new operators, new individuals driving our machines. You can use this to see how much are you cutting versus how much you're flooding. Day over day, week over week, sit down, use this as a training tool to improve the consistency of your drivers and of your operators. I'll just hide some of these columns here. So as an example, if I've got one rink or one building, I don't need to see that. If I've got multiple rinks, that's fine. If I only have one ice resurfacer, I don't need to see that. I can see the hours increase. Obviously, this is just generic. All of your flood times, the average duration, how long some of your drivers are taking to do cuts and floods, any comments and notes. Brandon, you with us?
I am, Zach.
Can I get you to chat? Can I share your data if that's okay? Can you share a little bit who you are, who you work with, where you guys are, a little bit of our history working together?
Oh, yeah, no problem. So my name is Brandon McCall. I am the operations and facility manager of one of the Sensplexes out in Ottawa. We have a 4-pad facility, and we have about 4 machines in the building on any good day. We've been with Zach and Marmac here for, well, I mean, almost a year now, I think, since I've been involved in it.
Mm-hmm.
And we started off with the ice depth charts, and we've been slowly bringing in the other aspects of Sub-Zero. And so we started to cut log 1 almost 3 weeks ago,
Mm-hmm.
and it's been great. I have had some pushback from some of the drivers, some of the older guys who've been doing this for 20 plus years, and they don't like change, and it's scary. But on an overall sense, as a management point of view, I love it. We're able to, one of the issues that we were having probably the most with not one of our drivers, all of our drivers, was we noticed that all of the logs were very day to day, almost the exact same, always. So they would ever come in and write in the book and do all the floods at once, or they would come in the evening, or before they leave in the evening and do it all at once. So with the cut log here, we're able to see the times of when they're being reported, which helps us on a great amount to know if it's actually being done or not.
Brandon, can I show your data? Is that okay?
Yeah, go ahead. That's fine.
Okay.
No here.
Okay.
On top of that, for last night, for example, I got some complaints about the ice. So I was able to go back and look throughout the day, and there was no logs on the ice because there was no floods done between the booking at 8 o'clock in the morning till 4 o'clock. And I generally, but we're going all day. We had a little bit of time there, and nobody did a flood on there. There's actually quite a bit of an issue that I was able to pinpoint and kind of point the direction towards somebody and hold accountability where it was kind of due. I know Zach was saying about the water consumption, and that's one aspect that we haven't really looked at yet or haven't started using yet, which I can't wait to start seeing all that kind of all come together and really give us a bigger picture of, who's doing what out there. When you have 4 pads and, like I said, we have 4 machines going in and out of service every day, it's kind of hard to keep track. And definitely with the bucks, people are writing in the wrong bucks all the time, and they get lost and move around. So it's not writing in for days. So having a log online is an easier way for me to also go to my management and my bosses and be like, hey, look, here's kind of what's happening here, and how do we fix this?
Yeah. And Brendan, if I can add, if we just look at this, as you're saying a little bit of pushback, look at how many cuts you guys have already done today. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. You've done 16 or 17 cuts just today alone. The kind of data that you can mine, right? 2 weeks, you guys have already done almost 300 of them. Some software out there, you got to use it for a few months before you get any value out of it. This sort of stuff, use it for 2 weeks, the kind of trends. Do you mind if I just play around and just sort and kind of look at some data here, if that's okay?
No, that'll be great. Go ahead.
Okay, so let's look at your SO Olympia. Here we go. Here's you've done 113 cuts with the SO Olympia. Again, this is only as good as the data you put in, respectfully. If nobody puts in any data, you're not going to get anything, right? But if we look at this, let me just go 250. Let me scroll down to the very bottom. First cut you guys did was 5th of November. So as you said, 3 weeks ago, 4,690.8 hours. Now we're up to 4,763 hours. We can now trend and chart that and say, okay, day over day, roughly based on how many cuts you do for that machine, we can forecast when you'll hit that 6,000, 7,000 hours. Or every 300 hours, I don't know, we want to grease the machine. Now you'll be able to track that and forecast it based on the actual consumption and usage of that machine. You guys have what, 4 machines at Richcraft?
Yeah, we have 4 machines at Richcraft. Yeah.
Are they all used the exact same?
Well, one's out of commission right now, so I don't think so. One of the machines that should not have any logs under it. 2 of them, I would say, are our main ones, our wrap one. So the DSO one, and then it would be the GFL one, which is the one that's out of commission. And then we have one specifically mostly for ice maintenance, and then we have a backup one.
Right. So this kind of data will help you with planning. So as an example, here you go. Here's the other one. It's at almost 10,000 hours, 9,577. Now it's close to 9,700. That data will help you in forecasting, maintenance, forecasting, replacement. What we're also looking at, which we just added the other day, is the depth of cut. So if we know your surface temperature, the hardness of your ice, the depth of cut, and we know the machine, obviously, we can start to forecast when your blade needs to be replaced. So if you're doing a whole bunch of blood only, if you're not doing any cuts, sure, you might have done 100 blood cuts, but you haven't cut anything. So there's no point replacing that blade because the last 20 have just been flood only, as an example, let's say. If you've been cutting more because you've had a major tournament the last 2 weeks and it's men's league, so you're cutting more, you're cutting deeper, that blade is going to need to be replaced sooner. And you've got multiple machines all doing that. We can then aggregate and track this information. We're not going to be 100% accurate and AI and forecast Tuesday at 3 o'clock before the next flood, you need to replace it. But at least as a ballpark, we're not just, I don't want to say guessing, but it's not every 2 weeks or every 100 cuts. Now you'll have all this data aggregated where you can compare 3 or 4 factors, and maybe that blade can last a little longer. Maybe it needs to be replaced a little bit sooner. Helps your operators, helps with, do we need to purchase 2 more spare blades because we actually need to sharpen them more often and it's taking too long to receive it? None of that can be done without this data. Is that fair, Brandon?
Yeah, no, I think that's extremely fair.
Yeah, and if you've got multiple buildings, multiple operators, this kind of data is just gold to be able to evaluate your building's performance. Let's even just the fuel and battery percentage. When we spoke about an electric machine, if you're doing 10, 15 cuts on that one machine, is it able to keep up? So let's look at RSP1. Today, it's done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 cuts. If you're at 100%, will that battery still last? And we're only at 1:40 p.m. Will it be able to do another 3 or 4 cuts by the end of the day? Thoughts, Brandon?
Yeah, as we usually top up about fuel probably about halfway through the day. If it's like an all day cycle, usually about say 2, 3 o'clock is when we'll be hooking the machine back up and putting some natural gas into there. I know we are looking at getting the battery ceremony. I think we're supposed to get it like early next year. I know when we get that, me and Randy have talked about keeping our eye on it, see how much it actually is being used and how much the drainage is and how fast does it take to recharge, and really keeping an eye on that, just for our own sake, because we've never had a battery operated one before. But no, when it comes to the natural gas, I can't remember what the numbers are there for it. Trying to see here. Sorry, I'm on my phone. Yeah, so it says 25. So that'll be 2,500. So usually when we start putting the gas back into it, it'll be about 1,000. We don't really like going below half. But it takes about half the day to get there, right?
Yeah. Any other readings that you think is valuable from this? If you're Brandon, if you guys were brand new and let's say you're sitting on the call and you're not using the flood logs, would you, any suggestions, any feedback? What would you do, especially it being at no cost as an ORFA member to sign in and start collecting this data? You think it's valuable for them?
Oh yeah, for sure. Like I said, once you start bringing in like the driver specific data and how much they're taking off on a regular basis, or how much the water consumption would be huge for any facility, I would assume. I know there was one that me and Randy were talking about on here that we didn't feel was like as important. I just can't remember which one it was. It might have been actually like the flood type. I think it might have been. Okay. Just because when you're going, 16 hours a day, like you're already writing how much you're taking off and how much you're putting down. It was just like, okay, well, you're flooding, Yeah, go ahead.
So it's funny you mentioned that because we had a chat with a small rink in northern-ish Ontario, and for them it's valuable because he says, hey, when we're doing both wash water and flood water, he says that's hot water. He says if I'm just doing wash water only, he's like that's cold water. He says so I want to track the consumption of how much is hot water versus cold water, and obviously just dry cuts.
Which is fair. I don't think we've ever done just wash water. In a sense, like obviously when the plant goes down is a different story, which I mean, that's a good point. I know we've asked our drivers, the ones that are using it anyways, for comments to be a big part of it, but I don't think anybody's been writing anything because we really haven't had too many issues with it, really.
Yeah. And what we're seeing is that this is just 2-3 weeks for you. Once you have a month, 2-3 months worth of data, we had the old flood log in our fam and LinkedIn here, and there's a rink Acrisure Arena, which is where the Coachella Valley Firebirds play. They had 4 months of data and the kind of stuff they could trend. We're building reports and analytics for these kinds of tools, but even just from a liability perspective, to have it, to know the cut, to know what's going on from a training perspective and just data integrity. And you're bang on, Brandon, about these rinks. Respectfully, people go in and it's the end of the day, or even just your plant readings. Okay, I filled in the last 3 of them. Yeah. Actually time stamping the date, who did it, when was it done, where were they, is huge for, I don't want to say accountability, but just improving and elevating the operation of our facilities.
I like to use the word accountability.
Sure, go for it.
Well, that's the thing, when you have 16 hours of floods and you have 3 or 4 drivers coming in on any given day, everybody's trying to push the blame off, right? Where we know it doesn't take one shift to bring the ice down to the point where it's on paint. That's done over the past 2 days. But if I'm able to turn around and be like, well, you shaved this much according to you, and then he shaved only this much, like obviously there could be some fibbing and lying going on there, but it's showing the bigger picture and making sure that our guys are more consistent with what we find tolerable.
Yeah. Brandon, point. Sorry, Brad, point.
No, just add to your conversation here. I think they're all great points. And Brendan, your examples are obviously very real and in the moment and visual here. I think just to reemphasize from some of what I was saying, like you can start somewhere and grow, right? And the amount to which you use some of the data from day one might not be the way you use it on day 30 or month 12 or future evaluation of things. So it's starting somewhere, and the accountability not only for obvious like issue standpoint, but the accountability for the ability to again use it as a training and enhancement tool, as it's all about improving performance and in this case too potentially skill sets of operators to help maybe not just be a Brandon or any of you having to be the one saying, listen, this is what I'm seeing with your stuff. They could actually see it themselves with examples of data like this, right? And see it in a different way, and perhaps hear it different. Everybody learns differently. And I know, a constant theme of what we see and hear is, obviously the challenge firstly in getting, new operators and the skill sets being vastly different and a lot of changing faces in seats or people in different buildings. So, giving them an opportunity to learn with some of this information is a critical component in development and enhancement of your staff teams too. So,
very true.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, everyone. Being respectful of everyone's time, we wanted to keep it around this interval here within a half hour. If anybody wants to, if maybe you've been busy before and you haven't been able to see some of the other features, feel free to raise your hand or ask any questions in the chat. If you want to see the ice step check, how it works with the Bluetooth caliper, I might be willing to show a little sneak preview of our circle checklist with an interactive or images of an ice resurfacer attached, maybe some other features that we have coming out. But if there's questions, comments, feel free to share. If you have to hop off, that's completely fine. But if you folks have another 10 or 15 minutes, raise your hand if you want to see a little bit more and with the caliper and how it all works, or feel free to ask any questions. Okay, we've already got one who says, please show it. Anybody else? We've got 3. Can we get to 5, 4? One more. Perfect. We got 5. Okay, we're going to show it. Oh, Q&A. What is the depth of cut? Please show. Okay, so we will show. Let's answer a question. I've been answering too much. Brad, Brandon, do you guys want to chat about what is depth of cut?
As in, like, how much you're taking off?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm just trying to look at it here. Sorry.
It's okay.
Were my guys filling in that one?
No, so that one's brand new. So
okay,
technically, do you want to do it, Brandon?
No, go ahead.
Okay. So there's 2 ways of doing it. Whether you have level ice on your machine or it's what you're cranking it to, that's the angle of what your blade is and how much ice you're going to be taking off. So maybe if you've got some ruts in your ice from a men's league, that's going to be the amount of ice that's being shaved off. Again, whether it's from a level ice or it's just manually by the feel of it, that's how much ice is taken and how quick your bin is going to fill up. So if you have a lighter program, you're not going to take off as much. If you're doing ice maintenance, you're going to take off maybe a little bit more. If you have a program that has some stronger, heavier skaters that's going to cut more into the ice, you might cut more in order to get rid of those ruts. By tracking all of this, you'll then be able to see based on program, how much are we cutting based on ice maintenance. And ideally, or typically we'll see based on the data, maybe the deeper the cut, the more your blade will dull. And we've heard some places, we were just chatting yesterday with some of these larger NHL buildings, they'll have Disney on Ice, or they'll have monster or concerts, or what do they call it? Monster trucks coming in. They take the cover off their ice and the ice is all dirty. You might have some drink spilled or some sand. They'll do a really deep cut to clear all that off. Right when that's done, they say they've got to change the blade right away after one time. So that kind of data will then help you forecast deeper cut, replace the blade sooner. Are certain staff cutting more? Maybe we want to have an ideal range based on program as to how much we're cutting. By having that documented, again, you can use that in training. Brad, Brandon, does that, am I off? Am I right? Am I wrong?
No, and just in addition to that, if it's level ice or other automated technology, like that would probably be a consistent depth. You'll be able to see if again, if it's being recorded properly, whether there's manual overrides, why were there manual overrides of things of that nature. So it's just, again, another level of detail that may or may not be beneficial to your operation, but it's just something else to try and help you connect dots when you compare some of what you might be measuring and recording here to the depth checks, which I think Zach might be switching over to showcase here too. Then you'll be able to see that drive speed, that depth of cut, that amount of water used, how much you're putting down, how much you're taking off. They're all variables that might be contributing to factors X, Y, and Z. That could mean the higher or lesser thickness, or again, variety of factors. So it's just a different layer of data.
Thank you, Brad. Okay, so you guys want to see the I'm seeing something else, sorry. Was just curious what it was measured in. Thanks. Let's see. Okay. Do you estimate depth of cut if you have no laser data? Yes. So Kevin, I could try and get into that, but I would leave that more to the folks at Zamboni. But certainly by a certain amount of rotations, there's a certain level of cut. So it depends on the machine you have. One rotation is a certain level, 3 or 4 rotations. That we can get into another time if you want to reach out, or I can put you in touch with Marty, and Marty can talk a lot more about the specific machine, the type you have, and what that level is. So I actually left my caliper at home. I have 2 at home, so I have one at my desk. So we're going to do a brand new one, showing you how to set it up from scratch. This is pretty cool. So it's the same caliper as every other one that you pretty much have, but it's Bluetooth. It has a little button here on the side. So all you need to do is put in the battery. I'm showing you exactly from scratch. If you just received one in the mail at your desk, turn it on. There you go. This is cool. It's putting me on the spot here. Set it to inches. You hold the button here on the side. This is just to show you how quick it is to set up a new caliper. You're going to see the Wi-Fi signal flash right up here. It's very small to see it on the screen, but it's right there. Oops, I hope I didn't turn off. I turned it off, but anyways, you go here to the Bluetooth of your devices, pull up the Bluetooth, and you'll see here at the bottom, Bluetooth keyboard. Let me just turn it back on, even though it already showed up. Connect. So you wait 2-3 seconds. You only have to do that once. Bluetooth keyboard connected, done. That's the hardest thing you have to do. Log in here, go to the system, iStep check. We have 29, which is standard from ORFA, 37, which some of the NHL teams use, 52 for more detailed, and then 6 points for like outdoor rinks or studio rinks. If I go here, 29 points, rink area. So you can have multiple buildings. Then within each building, you can have multiple rinks. And then for each rink, you can have a custom layout, custom images, graphics, where your ice resurfacer gate is. Whether it's provided by someone who does your graphics, whoever provides your paint, or we can put it together for you as well. Walk out from the gate, go to point 1, you open the caliper, and yeah, we're connected. You click on the button. There you go. Done. You didn't have to touch anything. Automatically opens point 2. You can do this on a phone, a tablet. Go to the next point. Done. Point by point by point. You can have one guy drill. You can have the other guy follow. You can put the iPad or the phone on the player's bench because you don't even have to touch anything. Oh, we got some people signing up already. I'm getting emails. That's cool. Point by point. You can skip points if you want. Let me just do it again. There you go. I don't know if you guys can hear the ding. Done, done, done. You just did an iStep check in like 7 minutes. Press complete. I think we're all good. Done. And it saves all of your data to the cloud. There's all of your readings. Gives you your max, your min, your average, your variance. No messy handwriting, no fractions that you have to try and convert. The system does it all for you. You can export to PDF if you want to store it on your cloud, on the machine. iStep check. You can then go to the results. We're setting it up. You can get an email or a text to say, hey, your staff went out and did it, especially if you have multiple sheets of ice. You can then pull up any of your rinks. So if I want to do the RFAM rink, date range, generate inspection, this one we did 1 minute ago, press submit, done. You can now pull up all of those readings, lays it out exactly on your rink. So if you have new operators, old operators, they'll see their rink and they know exactly where they're going from as opposed to starting in a different corner every time. All of those readings stored to the cloud, and then you can do trends, reports, analytics. So if you have multiple sheets of ice, you can see the performance over a period of time. If you want to look at specific points, like my goal crease, my center ice, you can compare those 2, 3, 6 months, a year. compressor hours, forecasting when you need to do a top end oil change, full rebuild from plant readings. We are introducing shortly an ice resurfacer circle checklist that is really, really cool. That's as simple as it is. Rinks are signing up, never met them, 10-minute training session, or they watch the training video on YouTube, and they're doing ice step checks frequently.